Okay, thank you. Hello, everyone. Thank you all for coming. Okay, how are you today? Anyone has any questions? You don't know how invaluable it is to have the opportunity to ask questions, because I never had such a luxury and was cultivating. And every time I meditated, I generated a lot of more questions than the previous times. So the questions used to pile up in my mind and no answers whatsoever. So that's why in our Chan classes, we make sure we give you plenty of time to ask questions. Don't think any question is silly or insignificant. Every single thing is significant, trust me. Any problem you have can be traced back to shallow levels as well as deep levels. That's why there's no silly questions, and every single question may be applicable to more levels than you think. And that's one of the challenges we have in teaching a Chan class. The Chan class, Dharma talk, is very difficult, to be honest with you, because there's so many levels. After over 15 years, 16 years of teaching Chan, the level of the people who tune in, who practice with us, is so widespread, from beginners, meaning very low levels, beginners levels, to very high, meaning even higher levels than my master's disciples. So that's why it's very, very challenging for us, for me personally, to teach you. So I do welcome all your questions and take advantage of it before for the same things that happened to you. When I first started to learn Chan from Master YongHua, he really stopped teaching. So I really had no answers at all. I had to second guess and try and experiment it so that I would back out things that were wrong and stuck to what I felt was helpful. And so it's a guessing game for me constantly, every single time. So take advantage of it, I implore you. Yes, go ahead, question. Ru Chu, okay.
Thank you, Master. I can sit still for an hour for the first time in my life without any small movement, except a couple of times a little bit of deep breathing.
I really have a hard, excuse me, I really have a hard time understanding her, hearing her at all. The sound is not that clear.
Okay. 처음으로 움직이지 않고 조용히 앉아 있을 수 있었습니다. 1시간 동안. 이게 좋은 것인지 앞으로 계속 이렇게 노력을 해야 하는 것인지 알고 싶습니다. Can you hear me? No?
Master, I will try my best, because the last part I think was kind of interrupted. It was disconnected. So for the first time in my life, I was able to sit for 1 hour without any movement. So is this a good thing, or do I need to continue to strive?
It's a good thing that you're able to sit for 1 hour without moving. That's very important. That's the key thing there. The fundamentals of meditation is to be able to sit still. Okay, very simple. Try your best to sit still. And meaning not only physically, but also mentally. meaning that the mind does not move at all. That's the Chan jargon is the mind does not move. The mind moves when thoughts arise, and you follow them. Okay, so that's why that's how you move. You move physically because thoughts arise. For example, thoughts of discomfort. So, my legs are numb, my hip hurts, and therefore you twitch, you move a little bit. Okay, so that's why you see the original, the source of your physical movement, you're moving your body, is from thoughts arising in your mind. Your mind says move. So that's why instruction, there sounds very simple on the surface, don't move. So it means that initially you control yourself so that you don't move, you don't physically move. By the way, for some of you, it also means you don't scream, you don't cry. Okay? Does it ring a bell? No? You don't wince, you don't make grimace on your face. That still counts as moving. Okay, so that's the objective. Okay, so but the training that you've been doing is pretty good. Now you can sit for one hour without moving. Continue. The next step is also pretty simple. Try to not move physically longer, incrementally. Okay? Now, those of you, most of you are busy. You have a job, you have a life, you have a family to take care of. So it's not that easy for you to put aside 1 hour for you to practice for your Chan practice. However, let me remind you, this Chan practice is as important, as my master says, as important as eating, as sleeping. It is that important. When he says so, because it is so. Okay? If you don't understand it yet, it's because you don't quite have the wisdom yet to understand. But this wise monk said, the meditation is as important as eating, as sleeping. It is true. Once eventually, as you get higher and higher and higher, your skills improve even more. You find out that it is so true. Okay? And so for your training, you try to sit for 1 hour, and that means for many of you sacrificing your sleep, sacrificing your time doing something else. But you gain it back in terms of your mind being faster, you have more energy, so you get more done. So it's an investment initially, but eventually it pays off. It saves you time, actually, because you are healthier, you have more stamina, and your mind is a lot sharper, a lot faster. So invariably, for most people, this ends up in making them more productive during the day, okay, more stamina during the day, and healthier overall. So it's a very, very good investment. So continue to improve your skills, meaning that you need to invest. And how to improve? Now you're able to sit for 1 hour, sit longer without moving. Aim for 2 hours. Okay? And if you don't have time on the weekend, put aside some time. Do 1 hour every day, which is what we highly recommend, what I recommend for all of you. Do 1 hour every day. It's called maintenance. You need to maintain yours or your body and your mind, and that's why you need to meditate every day. It's just like you spend an hour, 2 hours every day on eating. You see? In order to maintain your physical and mental health, all we're asking you, all we're suggesting for you is to invest 1 hour of your time which is a lot less than you spend on eating and drinking. Think about it. Okay, so do that. Do 1 hour for maintenance, and then on the weekend, push yourself. Or when you have time, holidays, or when you're able to have some personal time, then you push yourself to sit longer. Okay. So I used to do that. Didn't have time, so I used to push myself every week, once a week, okay, or once every 2 weeks. When I was extremely busy, I would push myself once a month, okay. So I would go for longer sits, for once a month, once a week, okay. So continue. You do that, and then number 2, the milestone 1 hour is very important. Keep at it every day, and believe me, it gets better. Your skills will keep on improving every day. If you follow that schedule of pushing yourself like that periodically, and eventually you understand why we reap the great benefits. Okay, and also equally important is to listen to these Dharma talks. And don't listen to junk. I'm sorry, I'm very blunt, okay? I don't have time to waste. I don't want to waste your time either. Listen to the instructional talks in Chan from like Master YongHua, from myself. You keep on listening, you find out those instructions it's multi-layered. When I started teaching over 15 years ago, my students were pretty low level. So I started with talking at low levels. As they improve, my instructional talks increase in depth, in complexity, okay, while still taking care of newcomers as well. And nowadays, it is multidimensional. Trust me. So, for example, now we have classes from many, many levels, 4 or 5 different classes to fit people's schedules and accommodate various levels. For example, Master Thiền teaches beginner's class. This is really introductory in English. Okay. Highly recommended for you, those of you who wish to learn the proper fundamentals in Chan meditation. And Master Xin would be the higher end, the other side of the spectrum. So you see, the skill levels have changed differently from my assistant teachers. And these teachers, I hope and many more will come to accommodate your needs and your schedules. And I hope the instructors will pay attention too, because they should also listen to the instructional talks from the last 16 years. And they will, the more they listen, they have inspirations, and they will realize the depth of those instructions as well themselves. And a lot of my disciples, I've established a model for them. By every single chanchi, I would listen to Master YongHua and elaborate on those instructional talks for you, because that's how you learn about. That's how I learn about what he taught his disciples, and my disciples should do the same thing, the same model. Instead of speaking nonsense, they should, and we should learn from the sages, from the people who have a track record of training successful disciples. Okay, so for example, for us right now, my interest is beyond that. My interest now is to do something that I'm really unqualified, to be honest with you. That is to try to help you people, English-speaking people, and you, even Asians, to understand how Master Weisha and Master Yangshan trained his disciples. Because frankly, I struggle with that myself. I've been doing that. I've been trying to translate that into English, into Vietnamese and so forth, in order to preserve that wisdom, that profound wisdom that I myself certainly am not qualified to understand it totally, but it's challenging enough for me that I would feel it's worth it to try my best not to lose that. You see, I graduated from translating Master YongHua stuff, elaborating Master YongHua stuff, to go something a little bit deeper. I assure you, Master Yang Shan, Master Wei Shan, teaching are deeper than my Chinese teacher here, Master YongHua, because they're not same levels. Okay, so we all have to constantly challenge ourselves so that we continue to grow. Okay, that's our American way style of Chan. Anything else?
한 가지 질문이 더 있는데요. 조용히 앉아 있을 때 더 조용해지고 싶은 저절로 그런 생각이 들었는데 숨을 좀 더 숨을 멈추고 싶다고 할까요? 조용해지고 싶어서 그러다 보니까 숨이 좀 약간 큰 숨이 몇 번 있었습니다. 그 호흡을 어떻게 해야 될까요?
There's an echo. That's why it's a little bit difficult to listen to it. Can we learn how to give people instructions on Zoom, on Discord, so that they can avoid having these problems when online people, with online people?
Master, I have one more question. So while I'm sitting and I want more stillness, so I know my mind is quiet, but naturally I'm craving for to be more calm and getting into more stillness. But I realized that my mind wants to stop breathing, and suddenly there's a big breath. So what do I need to do with this breath?
Good question.
좋은 질문이에요.
You're wanting your mind to be more still, to quiet down a little bit more, is called what? A false thought. Recognize that it's just a false thought and ignore it. Because as you continue this training and you go through this process of sitting, your mind will naturally quiet down more. The more you are at it, naturally your mind will quiet down. So there's no need to wish during your sit that your mind will simply quiet down, because that is just a thought. So ignore that. No need for that. Okay, it will happen naturally. Anyone else? It's about work. It's like when you go to the gym, you need to exercise your muscles to help them grow, to help them to tone your body and your muscles. And you need to do it regularly. Same thing with Chan meditation. You need to do it regularly. When you do it regularly, you don't need to wish that your mind is quieter and your body is more toned. You're doing it, your program, the process will make it happen. There's no need to desire more on top of it. All right. Very good. Anyone else? Yes, go ahead. YongHua.
예, 안녕하세요. 안녕하세요. 마스터 아미타포. 얼마 전에 보라선언에서 이제 스님들과 대화를 하다가, 법문 시간에, 저희 법문 시간에 불유교경 강설 아마 대화를 하다가 계율 얘기가 나왔습니다. 계율 얘기가 나왔는데, 제가자들은 비구니 스님들의 계율에 해당되는 항목들을 접하고 읽으면 안 된다는 그런 말씀을 이제 들었습니다. 스님들이 계셨었는데 그 얘기를 들었는데, 제가 이제 재작년에 삼기를 하고 우연치 않게 어떤 책을 불자님이 그냥 다른 불자님으로부터 받은 책이 있었는데, 그 책에 비구니 스님들 계율 항목이 포함되어 있는 것들이었습니다. 근데 저는 우연치 않게 그냥 모르고 이제 쭉 읽었는데 그 내용이 너무 좋더라고요. 그래서 나는 제가자지만 되도록 이런 항목들을 지키려고 노력을 해야겠다. 그리고 가끔은 이런 비구니 스님들 계율들을 읽으면서 좀 상기를 해야 되겠다, 이렇게 마음을 먹고 있었습니다. 근데 최근에 한 달 전에 제가자들은 그런 계율들을 비구니 스님들 계율들을 읽으면은 안 된다라는 얘기를 들었는데, 현안 스님이 마스터께서 본인은 이제 그런 얘기를 들었기 때문에 궁금한 게 있으면 한번 마스터께 한번 왜 그런지 한번 여쭤봐라 하는 얘기를 들었습니다. 그래서 이 계율에 제가자들이 왜 비구니 스님들 계율을 접하면 안 되는지에 대한 걸 여쭙고 싶습니다.
Hi, Master Emitofuo. So a few days ago, we were at Jewel Kunk, and then we're discussing with Sinims about precepts, and this was a part of the 42 sections, the sutra that they were starting to teaching. It's about the precepts, and it's about lay people, and also about the lay people are not permitted to read bhikshu or bhikshuni's precepts. So about last year, there was a Buddhist disciple, and he happened to share a book, and then this was about bhikshuni's precepts. I didn't know if I was not allowed to read this precepts, so I just happened to read it, and I really liked it. And then I thought to myself, I should follow some of these precepts. And then recently I spoke to Venerable Shinan, and then she talked about that lay people should not read these precepts. And so Venerable Shinan heard this from you, and then she suggests to ask you, would you please explain why the lay people are not allowed or prohibited to read or know about the precepts?
No, only lay people not allowed to look at bhikshu's precepts, but also bhikshuni's precepts at all. The monks and nuns' precepts, you cannot look at them. In particular, even the nuns cannot look at the monks' precepts. But so you see, those are the rules in our sangha. The reason that we don't allow you to look at our precepts is because you don't understand. We go to the training. The precepts are a form of specialized training for us. We have the 5 precepts for you lay people that's suitable for ordinary people who have a secular life. You have your normal life, and the 5 precepts will help you live it better. Same thing. The bhikshu precept, bhikshuni precepts are specialized precepts designed to improve our lives as monks and nuns. And therefore, they're not relevant to you, number one. So it's not productive for you to follow them because they're not going to help you that much. Actually, they're too much for you. They're not practical for you. Well, for example, one of the precepts we have is not to touch money. We cannot touch money in our hands. So look at it. For us, when we see money, let's say, how much is gold worth nowadays? A lot, right? Suppose we walk down the road in the field, and we saw a big piece of gold. As monks and nuns, we cannot pick it up and carry it back to the temple and say, hey, master, look, I found 10 pounds of gold. Can't even do that. You know what we can do? And I teach you all this to the monks and nuns as well. All we can do is take our foot and kick it 3 times. See, those are our rules. All you know is that you only hear about monks and nuns are not supposed to touch money and valuables, diamonds and gems and so forth. But you don't realize that we have more. We have there are cases where we are allowed to kick it 3 times. So move it 3 times. For example, especially Chung Ho Sunim, who sees that big maggot of gold and she wants to bring it back home to her master. And she can't. Okay? So she can kick it to the sidewalk, okay? Hopefully in three kicks only, and then kick the dirt on top of it. Does it make sense? That's all we can do. If we can't, then tough luck. It's not meant for her master. You see that? So does it make sense to you? For you look and say, oh, but you are not making sense. Why can't you pick up the gold and bring it back and give it to the temple, give it to Ukraine, you give it to whoever you want to give, because it's common sense. Our life is not common sense. You see? So that's why you have these specialized rules that are designed to help us become aligned a lot sooner than you. Okay, those are very, very specialized rules that arose from the genius of the Buddha's wisdom. Okay, so you're not supposed to look at them, number 1, okay, because they're not helpful to you. Number 2, more importantly, as my anecdote just told you, you will laugh at us, look down upon us as being stupid, being backward for doing stupid things like that, okay? And therefore, you give rise to disrespect and lose your faith in the Sangha, okay? My master, for example, Master YongHua, when he made a vow, he says, those of us who hear his name, or see his face, or see his image, he vowed to save you, save us. And that's what interested me, by the way. He made that vow, okay? He says, doesn't matter, I just mentioned his name, Master YongHua. You heard it. Now he's stuck. He's going to have to save you before he can become a Buddha, including that person over there, the Catholic. You know, so that's what he does. Okay, I'm of a different persuasion. Okay, I don't believe in saving the Catholics. I think the Catholics should be Catholics. I'm more interested in that when you see my face, hear my name, that you will develop the faith in Mahayana. That's all I care about. I don't care if you go to the hells or be Catholic or communist or whatever, or Russian or Putin or something. It doesn't matter, okay? All I care about is you develop faith in the Dharma, in the Mahayana Dharma. That's all I care about. Okay, so that's why we're doing this. That's why I spend so much time talking to you, answering your questions, because my questions will help you develop your faith, which otherwise you a lot faster than otherwise. Okay, and it is that's why I observe as well. My generation, my master only instructed us to give you 20 minutes of instruction talks, and with translation, it's cut down into 10 minutes. That's all. Okay, and yet we are not my generation. We don't even do that. We only give you 5-10 minutes in the end. And let me tell you, the answers to your question reflects your level, your Chan level. So there's no need for us to try to limit the time, because we should be ourselves. At a low level, you should you will learn, you will make mistakes, and you will learn. And my students or you, whether lay people or love form people who are teaching Chan, helping teach Chan, you make mistakes, come back. You can't answer questions, come back and ask us. That's the purpose of it. Okay. For example, I give you an example. I once listened last year on my drive, a long drive. I listened to Sienna's question and answer session. She gave a good talk, well-prepared speech about what she wanted to talk about. Then came the question and answer time. And you can tell she struggled because the answer are kind of beating around the bush. Okay? And yet, I have yet to hear from her and say, hey, listen, Master, or listen to someone who's higher level than she is. I'm very upfront about it. My disciples in general know that someone among them is higher than them. Okay, so so that's why they're encouraged to, when faced with questions they know they don't give a clear answer, they can come back and ask for input, ask for help, and how to better address those questions. The answer to your question is helpful in developing our wisdom as well as instructors. We shouldn't be afraid of it. If we don't know, we don't know. There's someone else amongst us, like me, who will know more than you. That's why I'm here. Okay? All right. Looks like YongHua still has a question.
비디오를 봤던 것 중에서 제가 이제 몇 개 본의 아니게라도 하여튼 암기를 한 게 몇 개 있는데 그 항목들을 지켜도 될지, 지키려고 노력해도 될지.
So, Master, about those precepts that I read, somehow I memorized some of them. Do you think I should keep those precepts?
No.
아닙니다. 하지 마십시오.
You should try erase it. Take eraser from your memory. Do something. Don't keep them. Okay? Since you did not intentionally read them, it's not a major mistake. It's called Dharma theft. It's a very serious offense. If you intend to steal that particular knowledge, okay? So it's a pretty serious thing. You should erase it. Don't mess with it, okay? It's not for you. Anyone else? Okay, very good. Yes, another question there. YongHua, we done, right? You still...
강원님 질문 있으세요?
고민을 하고 있는데 그냥 질문을 좀 드리겠습니다. 왜냐하면 제가 시간을 너무 많이 잡아먹는 것 같아서 좀 고민을 했는데 경험 플러스 나누고 싶은 경험 플러스 질문인데요. 좀 내용이 좀 길어질 수가 있습니다. 한 5분 내에 최대한 하도록 하겠습니다. 얼마 전에 이제 제 생일이었었는데요. 이제 와이프랑 아이를 데리고 이제 다른 불자님, 원래부터 이제 신분이 있는 불자님이 어떤 다른 도량에 이제 초청을 해주셔서 이제 가게 됐었습니다. 근데 그곳은 이제 성철 스님이 이제 주석했었던 절이었었고요. 거기서 이제 초청을 해서 이제 저는 이제 수행을 안 하고 와이프가 이제 초대받아서 거기서 이제 능엄주 수행을 했었습니다. 그러니까 제 생일이었죠. 제 생일이었는데 와이프는 능엄주 수행을 하고 저는 제 아이를 이제 케어를 하고 있었습니다. 일단 요까지 말씀드리겠습니다.
So, Master, I hope this doesn't take too much time, but I'd like to share with this. It's kind of long, but I'll try to make it within 5 minutes. So first part of this talk is a few days ago, it was my birthday, and my wife and myself and our daughter, we were invited to this temple that where something related with Master Songcher. And we were visiting this other way place, and my wife was doing Shrangaba mantra. And what I was doing is I wasn't cultivating, I was taking care of our daughter.
예, 네. 그리고 이제 그 철야 수행이 끝나고 저는 이제 아이를 이제 다른 곳 호텔에서 이제 케어를 하고 있었고 이제 다시 이제 조인을 해가지고 이제 서울로 올라왔었습니다. 저희 이제 사는 곳으로 올라와서 제 이제 생일 파티를 준비를 하고 있었습니다. 근데 자그마한 어떤 그런 좀 아규먼트 아이의 교육 방식에 대한 어떤 그 논쟁이 좀 있게 되었었습니다. 서울로 올라오는 중에 집으로 올라오는 중에 그래서 근데 제가 그 당시 때 어떤 생각이 있었냐면 오늘은 속으로 오늘은 내 생일이니까 오늘은 내가 하고 싶은 주장을 좀 굽히지 않고 그냥 이제 블런트하게 얘기를 해야 되겠다. 그런 이제 마음의 어떤 그 심산이 있었습니다. 여기까지 말씀드리겠습니다.
So that after mantra session is over, and we all, meanwhile I was taking care of our daughter in the hotel, but we all came back to Korea. But on the way to, we all went back to Seoul. On the way to Seoul, there was an argument about the education for our daughter. And so what was in my mind was, hey, it's my birthday, so I could speak my mind as I wish.
그래서 이제 가면서 이제 뭐 논쟁 안 할 때도 있고 그랬었는데 이제 저녁 시간이 됐는데 저는 이제 자각을 못했습니다. 제가 이제 제 아상으로 제 주장을 많이 하다 보니까 와이프는 거기에 대해서 감정적으로 좀 다침이 있었었고 그래서 이제 마음이 좀 위축돼 있었었는데 아무래도 제 생일이다 보니까 솔직하게 얘기를 못 하고 있었습니다. 근데 저는 이제 그걸 의식 못 하고 좀 더 이제 강하게 제 이제 주장을 얘기를 했었었고 어느 순간에 이제 와이프가 좀 짜증이 폭발해서 저한테 이제 막 뭐라 그러기 시작했습니다.
So during the dinner time, I was just being myself. I was kept insisting what I was talking to her. And during this process, my wife was emotionally hurt. But she did not say anything, did not reveal her mind because it was my birthday. At the time, and my wife, at some point, she got very upset and she exploded.
그때서야 제가 사실 자각을 하고 너의 생일이라는 그 아상 때문에 너는 마인드 컨트롤을 안 하고 그렇게 막 이제 너 하고 싶은 얘기를 했고 너는 아직도 너의 생일에 집착을 하고 있구나. 생일이고 뭐고 속으로 연구를 하면서 최대한 이제 원래 했던 대로 이제 달래주고 이렇게 좀 잘 해야 이모셔널적으로 이제 잘 해줘야 되겠다라는 생각이 들어서 속으로는 연보를 하고 그리고 와이프가 막 이제 쏟아내기 시작을 하면은 좀 심하게 뭐라고 하는데 이게 어쩔 수 없다. 내 인욕바람이고 내 아상을 이제 죽이고 생일이고 뭐고 아상을 죽이고 속으로 연보를 하면서 최대한 잘 케어를 하자 이런 생각의 전환이 있게 되었습니다.
So I thought, so my wife says it's because of your birthday and you have no control in your mind, and that made her upset. So with her response, I realized that, wow, I'm just blaming my birthday, and then really I was out of control, and I have this attachment to my birthday. And then immediately I decide that I'm going to forget about this birthday things. And then I'm going to start to emotionally support my wife. And I start to recite Buddha name. But my wife was still upset on and off. But in the end, I was continue to think that I need to take care of her emotionally.
예, 근데 예, 그럼에도 불구하고 어쨌든 감정적으로 쌓였던 게 터졌다 보니까 막 블라블라 이제 뭐라 그랬고 뭐 그래도 계속 뭐 이게 내 엿보니까 오늘의 생일이고 뭐고 나중에 한 1000배나 결과 오지 한 2시간 하면서 감정적인 어떤 내 어떤 그런 힘듦은 좀 떨어내고 지금은 어쨌든 인욕바람일에 이런 어떤 선물을 수행을 해야 되겠다 그렇게 생각을 하고 계속 참고 참는다기보다는 계속 그냥 받아들이고 그러고 이제 왔습니다. 그러고 이제 생일 이제 케이크를 이제 준비를 했는데 뭐 생일 분위기가 나겠습니까? 그래서 제가 그냥 주섬주섬 그 분위기 전환도 할 겸 주섬주섬 이제 생일 케이크를 가져와 가지고 이제 그 집에 테이블 위에 올려놨습니다.
Despite of my trying, however, she just didn't stop. She was very upset. So I thought, oh my God, this is my karmic retribution. And then doing 1,000 bows, and then thought about this is patient paramita. I need to do the patient paramita, and it's a part of it. And then there was a birthday cake, and I wanted to change this atmosphere, so I put the cake on the desk table.
예, 그리고 이제 와이프는 이제 그 아이와 같이 샤워를 하고 있었고, 그다음에 뭐 어쨌든 뭐 기분은 안 좋았지만 어쨌든 뭐 이렇게 생일 그거는 뭐 세레머니는 해야 되니까 씻고 나오겠다고 하고서 이제 테이킹 샤워를 하고 이제 나왔습니다. 나왔고 저는 이제 그래 뭐 분위기는 안 좋지만 어쩔 수 없고 나는 아까 말씀드린 대로 내 나름대로의 어떤 수행을 통해서 이 좀 안 좋은 감정을 떨어내고 지금 그냥 뭐 이렇게 주섬주섬 뭐 촛불이나 꺼야겠다 했는데 이제 그런 상황이었는데 와이프가 갑자기 샤워를 하고 이제 환복을 하고 이제 왔는데 갑자기 기적이 일어났다 하고서 저한테 얘기를 하는 겁니다. 그래서 저는 무슨 부동산 뭐가 이제 올랐나 아니면 뭐가 뭐 그런 어떤 이제 외부적인 어떤 좋은 일이 생겼나 다행이다 이렇게 생각을 하게 되었었습니다.
So meanwhile, wife went into the shower with daughter. Of course, her mood is not good, but we still need to celebrate this birthday, and no one is in good mood. And I kind of tried to control myself with the cultivation and get rid of these situations. And after shower, wife changed her clothes, and then she came out and she says, "There's a miracle." And I thought, maybe like real estate, something went really well, or something from the externally something happened really good things happen.
예, 근데 갑자기 그렇게 얘기를 하더니 저한테 이 생각은 내 생각이 아니었었어. 자기가 아니라 이제 뭐 법문 시간에 마스터께서 하거나 이제 뭐 가끔 이제 그 다른 이제 스님들이 얘기하듯이 자기 어떤 그런 매닉 고스트가 자기를 자극해서 이러는 생각이었어. 나는 그걸 깨달았었어 하면서 감정이 싹 사라졌다고 저한테 갑자기 얘기를 하는 겁니다.
And the wife says suddenly, that thought is not mine. The thought about the bad mood is not mine. Like Master you said or other Sinim said before during the Dharma talk, I think it's a manic ghost. The manic ghost actually stimulated me, and that the bad emotion disappeared.
저는 사실 좀 놀랐습니다. 왜냐하면 어떤 그런 영적인 얘기를 하는 거에 대해서 와이프는 좀 반신반의했었고 그냥 뭐 그럴 수도 있겠지 뭐 하여튼 이런 쪽 주였었는데 그런 얘기를 하면서 갑자기 그 과거 얘기를 하면서 본인 어렸을 때부터 뭐 예를 들어서 뭐 본인 어머니가 좀 뭐 자기한테 혼을 내면 자기는 좀 이렇게 마음이 상해서 필요 없이 오랜 시간 동안 마음이 좀 토라져 있었고 그리고 저한테도 가끔은 제가 이제 뭐 잘못을 뭐 이해 강도를 했다면 본인은 마음이 토라져서 너무 이제 확대돼가지고 해석을 하고 오랫동안 이 마음을 풀지 않고 있었었는데 자기가 생각해도 그런 것들이 올바르지 않다고 생각을 했었는데 감정적으로 떨쳐버리긴 힘들었었다. 근데 지금 상황에서는 자기가 어떻게 하다가 뭐 샤워하고 이렇게 하는데 갑자기 이거 내가 아닌데 하는 순간을 딱 하는 순간 그 마음이 자기가 원래 이제 그런 감정들이 빨리 떨어지는 스타일이 아닌데 그걸 인지하는 순간 갑자기 생각과 감성 자체가 온전하게 돌아온 거에 대해서 되게 놀랐고 자기가 참 예전에는 그런 거를 오랜 시간 동안 간직을 했었었구나 반성을 하면서 자기 그 패스트 크레딧이 굉장히 강한 녀석이었구나라고 이렇게 얘기를 했었습니다.
It was surprised for me because my wife, when we talk about spirituality, she only believed like half maybe. But then she suddenly realized this thing. And then she started to talk about our past a story. When she was a child, her mother disciplines her. Unnecessarily, she was upset and for a long time. Same thing when I did something and then she gets upset and unnecessarily for a long time she gets upset. And she realized that she was upset too long and difficult to remove that kind of thoughts. But when she realized it's not me, and when she recognized, she realized she went back to her own thoughts and emotion. And before, it was very difficult to really let go of those negative feelings, but this time after the recognition, she was able to quickly recover. And then my wife said, "Whoa, my past creditor was really strong."
그래서 저는 뭐 그게 본인의 어떤 생각을 얘기하는 거기 때문에 진짜 그런 건지 뭐 아닌지는 사실 뭐 알 수가 없죠. 그렇지만 어쨌든 그런 마음을 먹었다는 거에 대해서 굉장히 감사했고, 이게 진정한 진짜 최고의 생일 선물이다 이런 얘기를 해주고, 그리고 저한테 굉장히 미안하고 내가 그렇게 남편으로서 그렇게 큰 잘못을 한 게 아닌데 본인이 너무 오버리액션을 했던 것 같다. 내가 정말 미안하다. 저기 여보 생일인데. 그래서 자기가 이런 생각을 떨치는 순간 빨리 이제 와가지고 이걸 알려줘야 되겠다. 그동안 너무 마음 아파하고 있었을 테니까. 그래서 저한테 미안하고 반성한다 그러면서 얘기해줘서 저는 사실 좀 많이 감격스러워서 이게 속으로 이제 최고의 생일 선물이구나 하면서 이게 좀 많이 좀 울었었습니다. 네네.
So obviously this is happened in her mind, so I'm not sure it's true or not. But anyway, she decided to change her mind, and then from that I thank her. And my wife said, "I know what you said wasn't really anything extreme, but I'm very sorry and I overreacted. And you probably felt really bad, but I'm really sorry." And then she apologized to me. And then I said, "Wow, this is the best gift for my birthday." And then I cried a lot.
그러고 나서 이제 물론 이제 뭐 분쟁이 없을 수는 없으니까 뭐 가끔 생기는데요. 그 강도나 그게 예전보다는 많이 좀 줄었구나 이런 걸 좀 느끼고요. 그래서 제가 뭐 힘들 때마다 마스터께서 얘기해 주신 대로 최대한 그 결과보자하고 않고 염불이나 이제 만트라를 해라. 뭐 그렇게 얘기를 하고 있습니다. 그래서 완전히 지금 뭐 어떤 우울의 어떤 기본 우울증, 일종의 우울증을 좀 떨쳐내지 못했지만 그래도 나름 이제 스트러글링 하고 있고 예전보다 많이 좋아졌고 좀 열심히 하려고 하고 있습니다. 그래서 이 가르침을 주신 마스터와 스님들께 진심으로 감사드리고요. 그래서 이런 현상을 좀 공유드리면서 이 부분들이 진짜 어떤 그런 뭐 영향이 좀 있었는지도 사실 궁금하고 앞으로 좀 더 빨리 이제 그런 생각과 어떤 관념의 전환을 위해서 어떻게 좀 해야 될까 이런 걸 좀 여쭙고 싶었습니다.
근데 여기서 우울증이 감소됐다는 게 본인이요 아니면 부인이요?
부인이 물론 이제 우울증 에너지가 제가 봐도 본인도 잘 거 있습니다. 그 아이에 대한 어떤 그 걱정에 그런 게 있기 때문에 있고 어떤 일종의 일단 매닉 에너지가 나오는 것도 본인도 이제 인지를 하는데 그 강도가 그 일이 있었던 후로 예전보다는 좀 줄었습니다. 본인도 느끼고 저도 느끼는데 물론 당연히 완전히 해소되진 않았는데 이런 현상들을 공유드리면서 그래서 제가 그런 우울한 에너지가 올 때마다 결과보자를, 마스터께서 얘기하신 대로 결과보자를 안고 연구를 하라라고 얘기를 하고, 본인도 이제 하려고는 하고 있습니다. 100% 하지는 못하는데, 그래서 말씀드리고 싶은 거는, 이런 상황들을 공유드리고, 앞으로 어떻게 이제 처신을 해야 될지, 그런 거를 좀 여쭙고 싶었습니다.
So obviously, Master, it will be difficult to avoid any argument with my wife. But as you said, I told my wife when there's a difficult time, sit and then do reciting Buddha name or doing mantra. And I think my wife's depression, actually the degree decreased, and then she tried harder. And I want to thank Master and Sinims for this good result. And my question is, and of course I want to share this story with everyone. And then the next question is, what can we do to help us more?
Well, happy belated birthday. And you're very blessed to have a wife who's interested in the Dharma as well. So it's someone you should cherish. It's very difficult. Many of us, many of you go to the temple and your family is opposed to it. Your husband is opposed to it, your wife is opposed to it. As if, because probably they feel they're competing. The temple is taking up your time. So we're competing against your family time. We're taking up your family time. So it's understandable. So your wife, she appreciates the Dharma, and that's very good, to the point where you, as a family, went to the temple together. It's a wonderful, wonderful thing, especially for young people. So congratulations. You should also learn that as far as treating your wife, I'd like to suggest that you withhold from imposing your will on her. Instead, learn to solicit her input instead of forcing it upon her, which is your culture seems to accept it, that men will force their views on the wives. I feel it's wrong. When we raise children, we need to collaborate together, because when it works from both parents and comes from both parents' instructions, then it's much better for the children. Okay, so learn to cooperate, to discuss it with her and solicit her input instead of forcing your views on her. In particular, to avoid offending her, avoid making her upset. You should know better and back off sooner. That's all. That's just common sense, okay? But that's something, especially young people are prone to making this kind of mistakes, and they learn. Here in the U.S., we got divorced because of little things like that build up over time. So be careful. Be absolutely a lot more careful in the future, okay? Instead of forcing your views, again, ask. Express your views in terms of a question, for example, is a common trick. I feel that so-and-so and so. Do you agree? Okay, so instead of expressing your views, whether it's at work or whether it's at home, you express it in a form of a question, soliciting input. Okay, so it's less offensive. It's more open-minded in that sense. All right, and in terms of finally, in your question about what can you do to improve on to get the depression challenges better. Number one, it varies. When you have depression, it's a very, very difficult thing to deal with. And honestly, as far as depression goes, there's one thing that I advise all of you. Be careful about that. That is, there are two cases. Number one, if there's severe depression to the point where people feel like killing themselves, go get professional help. Okay, go get, here in the U.S. we have something called suicide prevention lines. You should call someone when you have such thoughts and ask for help, okay? Because it's overwhelming for you. You should know better. So ask for help in those extreme cases. When there's not extreme cases like that, then you should come to temples like ours, where we've been able to help a lot of people like you, because it's very subtle. I myself am bipolar. I was very depressed. I had thoughts of killing myself maybe 4 or 5 times before. Now it stopped. It's because I learned how to deal with them. Okay, it's if you will, there's some skills that you develop through Chan meditation, but it's pretty advanced. So just remember when the way that they work is that you can get help from temples like ourselves, and you should show, but because they know that, they will also 100% of the times for all of you, if you know where to find us or come to us for help, they will find things that will make you run away from the temple while you're unhappy with something we said or something, a bad experience with another person who goes to the temple, and the end result is still the same. Whatever the excuses are, it's for you to run away from the temple. And if you run away from the temple, that's where the help ends. You cannot get help anymore. So that's the main thing. You want to continue to receive help. It's a lot more help than you realize, because at the advanced levels, you really need our help in order to better learn to cope with those issues. Okay, it's beyond you. You cannot recognize it. You don't know how to deal with them. I've dealt with all levels. I went from low level to increasingly high levels. I recognize how I was attacked. I recognize how they function. That's why we are able to train our people to provide you with the kind of guidance and help. Okay, so in summary, whatever the reasons, whether you may disagree and go to a very strong argument, ultimately you don't want to run away, because if you run away, they are in control. That's all. All right? That's the only trick, is that we can help you go a very, very long way, and the condition is that you should not run away, no matter what the reason. It's funny, okay? Because as I saw a lot of my disciples graduate from one low level to pretty decent level, and it got worse for them. They will be ticked off for some really stupid reasons will make them feel like running away. Okay, and even at a decent level, they still cannot recognize it. They're pretty stupid, if you ask me. So I chuckle at that. Okay, and the only thing that's keeping them around so far is because they had a lot of blessings with us. Okay, that's point number 2. Plant blessings. That's what's going to save you. Okay, it takes a lot of blessings, trust me, to be able to come to the temple. A lot of blessings, I assure you. Okay, today time is up. I can take one question there from the lady who wanted to ask a question. Okay, is it okay? A few more minutes. Go ahead. Did you want to ask a question? I cannot read her Korean names. This one here. Did you want to ask a question? Yes? If not, you can ask
예,
next time.
있었는데요. 저 11시인데 괜찮을까요? 네. 다음에 하겠습니다.
Master, it's already 7 o'clock. And I told her you have a few minutes, so you will accept her question. She says she will ask next time.
That's fine too. So again, I reiterate, this question today is very important. Maybe YongHua spent a long time explaining a situation. His situation, it ended up to be a very good story for him. However, it brings up a very important point. That is, I implore you, all of you again, okay? If you know, when we tell you we have depression, you're manic, you're depressive, the one thing that you want to watch out for is that urge or that compelling reason for you to run away from the temple because you're unhappy or dissatisfied with something. That's how those beings retain control of your lives and will have a chance to continue to make your lives miserable until the day you die. All right? So thank you for the questions, and we see you next time.